Something really difficult about being an athlete that I think is so essential, and it doesn't matter what sport you do. Specifically for me, it'd be motocross, which I mean, I snowboard and do a lot of other things, but my main sport that I actually compete in is motocross. But it doesn't matter what sport it is. What's really difficult, but I think is absolutely essential, that has to be learned, and it took me way too long to learn this, is how to control your emotions and to be stoic. And I love the term stoic, which by the way, I have it pulled up right here on like what that means if you don't know what it is. But basically someone who's stoic is a person who can endure pain or hardship without showing their feelings or complaining. And another way of looking at it is that stoicism is emphasizes the importance of self-control, rational thinking, and inner peace, and encourages people to remain calm and composed in the face of adversity. So I really like, I learned about stoicism or whatever a while back, just like in business and everything, but I've really tried to encapsulate what it is and everything and try to become more and more stoic, not to where it's like ridiculous and everything, but to where just that whole idea of self-control and everything. So that's what I'm going to talk about in this video, is basically like how I learned how to actually control my emotions, especially when shit is hitting the fan and is not going well, especially with a race. Such as a perfect example, if you're a racer, you can relate to the crazy emotions that'll happen when this happens. But when I was at a regional trying to qualify for Loretta Lynn's, and I literally was in the qualifying position in the last moto, and it was the last lap, and I would have qualified, except I had made a small mistake and tipped over in a corner and threw it away. Like, literally, it was the last moto, last lap. I was in qualifying position, good to go, and I fell in the last lap. So you can imagine how upset I was. But now I'm able to actually control those emotions and everything. So I'm going to explain exactly how I learned that and how I'm able to do it in this video. That was kind of a long intro, but it's okay. If you don't know me, I'm Logan Lesser, a national motocross racer, having won over 15 state championships and an amateur national championship. I'm an extreme sports athlete and ran a marketing agency for over 4 years, growing it to $30,000 a month. And while doing so, was able to travel the world living in Cape Town, South Africa, part-time throughout the past few years. And I've spent nearly $50,000 on mentors, coaches, courses, and education, learning from the best of the best in business, fitness, mindset, racing, and so on. Now I'm sharing what I've learned and growing my community, the Champion Protocol, linked in the description below. So the way that I learned it, and the way that I'll probably explain it a little bit, is actually from business. So by the way, like I'm mainly talking about how to incorporate this into like sports, racing, and all that. This can be incorporated into everything, and I use it for everything, but I'm going to mainly talk about like how I learned it through business and stuff. So if you're an athlete, still pay attention to everything. I just the way that I actually learned this is through business. So I'll tell you a little story. Basically, when I went to South Africa for the very first time back in 2021, and I was 17 years old at the time, basically I went there and I didn't have much control of my emotions at the time. Like, I was obviously still very young. I still am very young, but I hadn't really learned any of this stuff yet. And my business partner at the time, Courtney, he's still someone who I have always thought, I was always amazed at his level of self-control and his just emotional intelligence, and how good he was at this. Like, he's always been very, he's had a lot of self-control, which I've always been very, I've always looked at him and been like, wow, like it's amazed me how much self-control he's had. So especially the chaos that we dealt with the agency and running the business and everything. And he'd always just stay very calm. But he's who I really learned this from. But basically I went to South Africa, and I was there for like, I think 2 months on that trip. I think I was there for 2 months. But basically, we were there, obviously, working the whole time, going to the office every day. We worked at a WeWork in Johannesburg, which, by the way, if you want, search up the WeWork in Johannesburg, South Africa. It is the coolest place I've ever worked. It is seriously the coolest building ever. Like, it's really sweet. But anyway, we were working there and everything, and specifically when he kind of had mentioned it to me before, just like kind of remaining calm and just keeping this level of calm with your emotions and everything at all times. And I just kind of shrugged it off a lot. But basically, there was 2 instances that I specifically very much embarrassed myself, and is something that I still think back at. That's like one of the main times that I learned this lesson. And the other time, I didn't embarrass myself, but it was an interesting conversation that him and I had after it happened. So the first time is that he had me working on something. He needed me to help him out with something that was like outside of what I wanted to be working on, because I was mainly the one like bringing in clients and doing sales and all of that. And that's what I wanted to do. Like I wanted to be the one bringing in revenue and bringing in new clients. And he had me working on this thing for one of our clients. I just didn't really want to be working on it, you know? So I wanted to be working on this. So I just wanted to get it done as soon as I could. And I like finished it. And I remember I walked out to kind of show it to him, and it wasn't what he wanted. And he wanted me to make all these changes and stuff, something like that. And I was so mad. Like I was so pissed. So literally, I think I probably like lashed out at him a little bit verbally. So sorry, Courtney, for that. But regardless, the embarrassing part is that after I finished talking to him, I turned around, and as I walked away, I was so mad. I slammed my computer closed, and like in the moment after I did it, I was so mad. So like I held my angry composure, you know, because I didn't want to like give in and be like, oops. Like I wanted to stay angry. But in my head, I was thinking, oh shit, I think I might have just broke my computer. Like I think I'm going to open it and my screen is shattered. So I walk into the room that I was working in or whatever, and I open my computer, and luckily I was like, okay, the screen isn't shattered. But immediately, like I immediately had that that feeling of regret of like, I should not have done that. That was embarrassing. Like that was pathetic. I should not have reacted that way. Especially in front of him, you know, like that was just stupid. So later, it's funny because like this is one of the moments where he just handled situations very, very well. And this is another thing that I learned from him also. Like he walked into the room later, well after I had cooled down and everything, and the way that he like mentioned it to me or whatever, he kind of just joked very calmly and was like, so did you break your computer? And I was like, no, I didn't. It's all good. I didn't break it, but yeah, I should have done that, blah, blah, blah. So that was one instance where like I just completely lost my temper and did something stupid, and that was embarrassing. But the next time that I mentioned was that I had gone weeks, and this is still in South Africa. Like this is probably not that long after that particular event, but basically we had gone like weeks without landing a client. So just like a pretty long dry streak, like I think the longest dry streak I'd ever gone on in terms of like how long it had been since I had landed a client. And I was working daily to try and like book meetings and land a client. And I had gotten on quite a few sales calls. So I was getting kind of irritated. I was like, what the hell? Like I need to land a client soon. Like what is going on? And basically I got on a sales call, and long story short, ended up closing the deal, and it was the first client I had landed in a while, but it was also the biggest client I'd ever landed, and still the biggest client that I've ever landed to this day, or at least like cash collected like on that initial call. And to be completely transparent, it was a $14,000 payment that was made on the call. Like I got on the sales call, closed the deal, closed the client, and the client literally paid us 14 grand right then and there. So like you can imagine, after going weeks without landing a single client, and then like on average, to give you an idea of what I was used to, on average we'd sign a client on for like $2,000 to $3,000 a month in terms of a retainer. But this client wanted to pay upfront for like 4 months, so he paid like 14 grand. It was like just shy of 14 grand. And you can imagine I was stoked. I was so pumped. I was so excited. Oh my God. Like I was in one of the booths that it's in the WeWorks. Like you could take the call in private or whatever. Dude, I shot out of that freaking booth so fast. I went to Courtney, and he was with our other team members and everything. And dude, I was practically like jumping up and down, excited. Like I was saying, I just closed this deal for 14 grand, new client. Oh my God. Like I was so pumped. And in the moment, he went along with it, and he was like, dude, that's awesome. Like, I'm so pumped for you. That's amazing. And he was pretty calm about it and everything. But later he ended up approaching me, and he was like, dude, I'm proud of you. Like, I'm super pumped. That's amazing that you closed the deal. So super, super awesome. But then he started telling me how I need to remain more calm and keep this level of calm regardless of what happens, like whether something goes wrong or whether something goes amazing. Like I need to just keep this level of calm. And in the moment I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, I want to be excited. Like, when something good happens, I want to be pumped. I want to be thrilled. I want to jump up and down and be super, super excited and everything. So I just didn't really understand it. I was like, that seems like a very boring way to go about things. But over time, I actually learned this is an amazing, amazing way to approach just life in general, at least for me. Like, I really like to, like, I'm a very calm person. Like, you can ask anybody who I'm around. Like, I am extremely calm basically all the time. It doesn't matter what the situation is. I'm very calm, and I had to learn this. And it's benefited me massively, not only in business, but also in racing and sports and pretty much any area of life. But the idea behind it, and kind of the way that I look at it and my perspective, is that imagine you have kind of this line. Okay, so this is like it's your level of emotions or whatever, and you're either gonna be like up top where you're like super excited, super thrilled, just like I was when I landed that client, or say when I win a big race or something like that. And then you'll have the opposite where you're like super low, where maybe you threw it away at the regional like I did that time, or you lost a big client or whatever. Like, that's when you're super low. But in the middle is where you're basically just at this level in this state of calm. And this is what I've learned to basically live at, like, constantly. Like, I'm always at this level of calm. And it's not that I don't get like excited, and it's not that I don't like that I'm not thrilled when things go well and all those sorts of things, but it's just a matter of being able to control your emotions and actually having control over it. Because back when I was 17 and like that happened and stuff, and for example, I was at a super low where I gave into my anger and everything when I slammed my computer shut, so I was like super down here, and then when I landed that client, I was way up here, so my emotions were just like a roller coaster, like the saying goes, you're an emotional roller coaster, and you probably know those people or that person who, like, when they're happy and they're super thrilled, like, they are literally just the nicest person ever. Like, everybody just wants to be around them. They're super jolly and everything. However, that same person, when they're off and they're angry or they're sad, like, they are at a level of anger and sad that is like super low. Like, you just don't want to be around them at all. Like, they're just terrible to be around at that point. And that's kind of what I found the issue is with that, is that you're not able to control your emotions as well when you are doing this. Whereas when you're able to focus on just staying calm all the time, regardless of what happens, you're actually able to control your emotions better, and which allows you to act in a better manner, which I'll mention in a second. But overall, it just gives you this level of self-control that is just extremely, extremely powerful. So a perfect example is like in the past with racing, if I had a bad race and maybe I fell or I threw it away at the regional, or I just had a bad race or moto in general, I would throw the biggest goddamn temper tantrums ever. Like, one time I even kicked a hole in the wall in our RV because I was so mad after the race. Like, I went inside and I was so furious. I had my boots on, so I mean, it wasn't very hard to kick the hole in the wall, but I kicked it, and later I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. But I was just the biggest baby and stuff. So I just had no control over my emotions. Whereas now, it doesn't matter if the race goes super well or if it doesn't go well at all. Like, I just always practice remaining at this level of calm regardless. And it's something you have to continuously practice. Like, it's not something that, like, I still have to continuously make sure, like, just stay calm. Like, whatever the situation is, I just need to remain at this level of calm. Like, I even raced on Monday this week, and it was my first race in like 7 months. And one of the races just went absolutely terrible. Like, it was horrible. I just rode horrible. My body was exhausted. I was getting passed by people who I've beat forever. And I still, just after the moto, I just remained at this level of calm. And I was like, all right. And basically, I just went back to the truck. And obviously, I had a lot of these thoughts and emotions going through my head, but I still just remained at this level of calm. I let myself cool down, my heart rate come down. And then after that, I was able to look at it and be like, okay, what went wrong in that race? Like, why did that go so wrong? And how can I prepare for this next one so that that doesn't happen again? And that's probably one of the most important things when it comes to remaining at this level of calm, is like, when you're able to control your emotions like this, then that reduces the chances of you going and doing something that you are going to regret. Because a lot of times, especially like for me, and I think for everybody, when you do something when your emotions are at a very high or low level, like when you're super ecstatic, super excited about something, and you go and take action or do something, then sometimes you're like, oh shit, I think I was a little too excited about that. That probably wasn't the best thing to do. Or when you're at like a super low level, like for example, when I've lost races in the past, I'd be like, I'm done. This is like, I'm so sick of this sport. I'm so done with this, blah, 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 blah. Like I quit. I'm never doing this again. Like if I would have given in to that emotion, then I would have quit racing and been done. And that would have been stupid. Cause like in the moment I'm feeling that super low, but then once you kind of calm down and you come back to your senses, then it's like, okay, it was a bad race. Like it happens, like I'll learn from it and then we'll move on to the next one. So it's really just like when you're able to control your emotions like this and stay at a level of calm, then you're able to make better decisions. Because regardless of what happens, like if I lose a race, after the race, instead of me throwing a temper tantrum and doing all this dumb shit and looking like an idiot, throwing my helmet, kicking a hole in the wall and saying that I'm going to quit, instead I just stay calm. And then I'm able to kind of calm down, let my heart rate go back to normal and everything, and then kind of sit there and look at the race logically and be like, okay, why, like what happened? Like why did I get a bad start? Why did I fall? Like why was I so tired? Like why was I riding that way? And then when I look at it that way logically and I'm just staying at this level of calm, I'm actually able to act on that and figure out how I can improve, and I can prepare for my next race. Because for example, at the race Monday, like that particular moto or race that went so terrible, I was race number 2 and my next one was race number 6. So like I had basically no time to kind of calm down and get ready for the next moto. So literally the fact that I was able to control my emotions like this and stay calm, it allowed me to calm down way faster, reduce my heart rate, and look at the race from a logical perspective and be like, okay, that did not go well. Like why? Like let's figure this out and figure out why that did not go the way that I wanted. And then I was able to prepare myself for the next race a lot faster. And then I went out and absolutely freaking killed it in the last race. Like I seriously rode extremely, extremely well and turned it around. So that's a prime example of what happens when you're able to just stay at this level of calm and everything. But anyway, I think you probably get the point, so I'll wrap it up and summarize. But the overall idea is that I recommend searching up Stoicism and just like how to be stoic and everything, because that's kind of the whole idea here. Like that's the term behind it, is basically being able to remain at a level of calm regardless of the adversity that you're facing. So that's kind of the main thing, but I just look at it as kind of like that graph where instead of being an emotional roller coaster and when things are going super well, you're just on this massive high, and when things are going super or just not well, you're on this massive low. Instead, regardless of what the situation is, you're just at this level of calm. And the way that I do it, even like, I'll use a racing example again. Like, for example, if I win the race, then after the race, I'm like, all right, sweet, I won. Like that was awesome. That was amazing. And I'm just still calm, and I'm enjoying it, and I'm super pumped that I won and everything. However, I'm still just at this level of calm. Like I'm not like jumping around going nuts like, holy shit, I'm a champion, I won, blah, blah, blah. Like I'm still just at this level of calm. If I lost the race and it just did not go well, then I'm like, well, that did not go very well. That didn't go the way I wanted. Why? Like, what happened? Like, let's figure out what happened so that we can prepare for the next race. Instead of throwing a temper tantrum and being like, fuck this, I'm so done. Like, this sport is so stupid. My bike was terrible. The track sucks. Like, the goddamn wind, it was super windy. That guy got in front of me. Like, blah, 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 blah. Because then I'm looking like an idiot. I look like a freaking baby. And I'm also, I'm taking on a victim mentality where, like, everything I'm naming, I have no control over, like the weather or the track condition or whatever. Like I'm basically saying it's not my fault that I lost. It's all this other shit. Whereas when I stay at this level of calm, then people also notice. They're like, holy shit, I can't believe like how calm you are right now. Like I've literally gotten that comment many times with certain situations. But literally like you stay at this level of calm and you're like, okay, what can I improve? Like what do I have control over? Like, why did I ride that way? Why was I so tired? Like, why did I maybe lose focus? Because it's really just about turning it back on yourself and being like, okay, how can I improve? So anyway, hopefully that makes sense. I can make more videos on this, so feel free to like comment if you want me to. I know I ramble a lot, so hopefully that did make sense, but just try it moving forward, just practicing, like just staying at that level of calm and everything. And a last thing I'll leave you with is a little strategy that I use. It's so freaking simple, but it's just verbal, like a way to word things that allows you to kind of return to this level of calm and remind yourself like everything's fine. And this is especially for when things are going wrong. And it's basically like, for example, if I lost the race, I'd be like, man, I lost the race. I rode like shit. I got passed by guys who I've beat for forever, who I've never lost to, blah, 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 blah. And I basically name everything that went wrong. And I'm like, and that's okay. Like, that's it. Like, you literally just add the words, and that's okay, to the end of it. And it kind of just reminds yourself, like, and that's okay. Like, it's not the end of the world, you know? Like, and that's okay. It happens. Let's figure out how to make sure it doesn't happen again. So you can go ahead and use that for anything. Even like if I lost a client or things were going like shit with my agency when I was in Cape Town, I remember I did this many times where I was like, all right, well, we haven't landed a client in a while. This client might be leaving. We just got this dispute that we have to deal with, and that's okay. Like, I say that, and then it just kind of like, it releases this weight off your shoulders, everything. And I'm not saying to not care. Like, I'm not saying to be like, and that's okay, whatever. You know, like, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying you basically add, and that's okay. It lets you return to this level of calm, like that the world is not coming to an end. And then it just allows you to move from emotions to logic a lot quicker so that you can analyze the situation in a logical way to figure out how to fix it or overcome it or just improve so that it doesn't happen again. So anyway, hopefully that makes sense. But if you liked the video, feel free to subscribe. If you're a racer or athlete, definitely check out my online program and community linked in the description below. Lots of mindset, fitness, all kinds of content and course material in there on that. Also a weekly live call with me, plus just a community of other elite racers and athletes who all want to get better and improve in there. So just a really, really cool community overall. So definitely feel free to check that out. With that being said, I'll see you in the next one.